Attention, attention. In the studio, we have a live and only professional boxer who transformed his life, Luke Heffley. And I want to welcome him with a big heart. I met this man about 4 years ago. He impacted me so much. We were going through some men's retreat, and he was so humbly take care of all of us. He was driving this big bus. He was providing the value early morning, late at night, always patient, always smiling. Amazing human being, amazing champion. I really want to give him a huge welcome. Welcome, Luke. Coach Luke, we all ears. Say what you have on your heart right now, and then we're going to go to some questions. Go ahead.
Hey, man, I remember meeting you, dude, and thank you for that great introduction. I'm excited to talk to your nation here, and man, just pull anything you want out of me. I'm an open book. Let's get it.
Again, everybody, welcome to Core Nation Podcast. My name is Sergiy Korelov, and I'm your host, and we're going through this deep journey. We're diving into the DNA of every guest, and we're pulling out this core energy, core strengths, superpowers, which we all have, and we're learning from the real experiences of real people how we can apply this to our lives and how it's going to benefit us. So, Coach Luke, we have 3 stages of our podcast: past, present, and future. We're going to start with the present. Tell us who you are, what you own, what you disown, what you like, what you dislike. Tell us about what you're doing in your career, your family-wise. Just give us a picture, snapshot of resume, who you really are at this moment.
Awesome. Yeah, so my name is Coach Luke. I am a corporate performance coach. I work with a couple hundred men and women nationwide. I help with identifying leading indicators and then using tactics to help them get to the next level, whether that's inside their fitness or their finance. Those are only 2 places that are measurable. That's what I love. Second, for fun, I sneak out of this office and I go fight people. I'm a professional boxer, so I'll go to the ring. I'll work with my coaches. I'm currently in camp right now, getting ready to hopefully lock a fight in this spring. That's my goal. Being at my age, it's really kind of hard to get some good fights. Yeah, when we get them, my goal is either fight in Arizona or inside Las Vegas. Right now, we're slamming it with the company. We just had our national convention a couple weeks ago. I'm moving forward into helping everybody inside of what's called a Back to Basics program, and it's phenomenal. We're getting a lot of positive results. Also, what I hate is complacency and being lazy, and I'm talking personally about myself. So that's one thing that when you say, hey, we're a couple things you hate, that's the number one. Everything else that I dislike spawns from that. So yeah, that's where I'm at, man.
You used to own a construction business, right? And now you're full-time in a coaching, right? Into the educational space, and you're transforming people's lives. Is this correct?
So I personally own AE coaching. I was inside the water damage restoration industry for about 12, 13 years. We can get into that in the past, but I walked away from that. I had been coaching. I had been coaching part-time personal development for about 15 years now, or about 15 years around then. That's how long I'd been involved inside of it, but it was just more of a part-time thing. So we burned all the bridges and came here, and I started my company, and I left that life in the past, man. I just finished selling one of my last vehicles the other day.
Okay, congratulations on this move. And you mentioned in your age, it's hard to get good fights. And what is your age? You're around 40, right?
So at the age of 36 and a half, I decided to become a boxer. I decided to put my coaching program to the test. And I said, hey, is all this shit that I'm teaching even worth it? I was depressed, alcoholic, had money, and sitting there thinking about swallowing a bullet, bro. And I was like, I have hundreds of thousands of dollars in personal development teaching, and I coach people. Why am I like this? So I decided inside of 3-4 weeks of making the decision to shift my life to become a professional boxer. Now, granted, I had never thrown a punch, and I was 240 pounds, and I was 36 and a half when they retire. And last year in October, I hit that goal, and I'm currently still fighting. So as a 40-year-old, you don't want the 20-year-olds fighting me. It would be bad.
It's going to be bad for them or bad for you? Who's going to be bad for?
It's bad for them, man, because for one, I can really hold my own. I'm really good. Second, if they lose it to somebody my age, their career is done. So like even the gamble is the worst part. So they're categorizing me as the most dangerous 40-year-old boxer on the planet because if you lose, you're in trouble.
So I don't want to fight you. I know you're the beast right now. So I see you
Hey,
development.
you remember you did though when you got out of that van. You said you wanted to take me or the MMA guy, and I was like, hey. And then you held your own, brother. I remember.
Yeah. I done some kickboxing when I was in the high school and some, but not much. Anyway, look, you married. You have 3 children, right?
4. So I'm married to my beautiful princess. We've been together for over 21 years. We have 3 boys, 8. One of them's 21, 16, and 11. And then I adopted my beautiful little daughter when she was 2.5 weeks old. We got her, and she's 4 years old now. So those are my 4. Yeah, that's my kids. I love them all. In fact, hey, to be honest, my 21-year-old is going to the Marines here. He decided, hey, I don't know what I want to do with my life. Went and signed up for the military, man. So he's on his way out. It's been amazing. Yeah.
So you've been good role model and inspiration for him. Thanks for his future service to our country. It's wonderful to have a patriotic kids like that and just want to do serving time for the country. It's wonderful, wonderful. All right, let's go into time machine and go back in. Tell me where's your lowest point in the last 40 years, right? And from that lowest point,
last 40 years.
Last 40 years, in the last 40 years of your life, right? Where was your lowest point and how you recover and pivot from there, become who you are right now?
For me, when I look back right now, probably the lowest point inside of my life was when my wife and I were legally divorced and we were splitting ways. I came home one day and she had rightfully, based on how I was acting, moved back to her mom's house, took the 2 kids. We only had 2 at the time, and restarted her business and said, I don't want nothing from you. So, that was probably one of the most down I had ever been. It created something else inside of me, though. So her leadership, I was able to pull out of that and really find out who I was and what I had inside of me, and then pivot that entire space and bring it back around. So yeah, man.
When was that? How old you were? How old you were at the time?
So I owe her a carrot for every 10 years past that. So on her ring. So that's our agreement. So she's at the 2. So I want to say we were not even 10 years in. So we were married in 2006. So I would say before 2016. It was way before that. Hold on a second. It's been over 10. It's been over 10, almost 12 years, probably 12 or 13 years. She reminds me too. We have a very open communication and relationship about this stuff, man. I know I was a piece of shit straight from the beginning, and the way that I was programmed inside of my mind led me to be a quitter at that time. I was programmed to be a quitter. So when I came back around, and I decided to come back and say, hey, let's work this out. I literally. I told her, I said, you have no reason to even believe, you have no reason to take me back at all. And I know the reason why I did it too. We can get into that if you want. But from that point on, I was never, that's what weakens for me. That was what weakened me and took me out of my greatness.
Okay. So I want to stop here and talk a little bit about loyalty and trust. Okay. So if she walked away, she felt like trust was broken, or you were not faithful or loyal, or you were saying something and you not fulfill your words. So basically, you were a liar at that time. Is this correct statement?
This girl came home and found me messing around with some girl from the phone, and then attempted to make it work for 5-6 months while she watched me pack my fucking bags, walk out, and go to Las Vegas and party with this chick. I come home and I'm shocked that she's not at the house. Come on now. There was a liar. I was probably the definition and king of lying at that time. So 100%. I deserved everything that came my way. And so she was loyal even to the end. She's like, hey, I love you and I trust you. I know that you can do this. I just can't fucking live here and watch you guys do this, watch you walk out and do this anymore. And me taking everything for granted, being not attached to reality, I thought I was going to be able to balance both of these things my whole life, man. Yeah, that was a wake-up call, man.
I think this is a root issue at that moment in your relationship, right? That's kind of a broken trust and a lying part. Now, how did you turn it around and become a man of your word and fulfill it to your family, fulfill it to yourself, fulfill it to your destiny, and to your current clients? How did you change your identity from being a lion king of a lie, right? And now become a man of your word and fulfilling this. So what's happened there?
So what happened there? So first of all, I had a friend that told me at the time. They were like, "Hey, I've seen you on the at that prior to I had played football in high school. I was pretty good, and they were like, I've seen you on the football field, and you've never given up. Yet this is the first time I've ever seen you give up, and you need to turn it around." And that like shook me. So I was like, man. So I'm pretty good at doing like an audit of myself, and I audited myself, and I realized the number one issue was not only was I a liar, but I was scared. And so like I was just scared because I had gone too far. There was no coming back. So when I went and I got very vulnerable, I was like, hey, I'll do whatever it needs to be done to make this work. And you don't have to take me back, but I will do whatever it takes for us to be back together. So
talk about fear. You said you were scared. What you were scared about? What was you fearful about? What was your kind of a lower self-esteem or insecurities about at that moment?
Oh, no, man, I was scared. So I was scared because the life that I had decided I was going to build was just mediocre. From there, I had already decided I was going to be divorced. I was going to have to share my kids. She was going to go on and be happy. I was going to be miserable. I was going to just work. So I had told myself that's what I deserved. And so that's like the life that I was like, that's where the fear was. It was like I was willing to do all of that because I didn't feel of value enough to go and fix it. Does that make sense?
You believe that you not deserve anything good for your life, right?
Correct. Yeah, dude, man, I'm a piece of trash. I deserve nothing good. And then the rewind was when I started stepping up, right, and started realizing like what I truly had. The only what would you say? The only example I had of a person that always cared and never gave up was my wife. Nobody else inside of my life was like that. So like once I realized, man, like this is the person that I need to emulate, like, and actually live to be like, it was all, everything just started falling into place from there.
All right. So let's build from here. You get this lower moment, and then you pivoted. Your friend, high school friend, kind of inspire you. You start thinking about how does this actually start happening? What kind of a chemistry within you kicked in? What gave you force, energy to start, saying words and fulfill the words, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's, not convenient, but you said the word and you made the word.
So for inside of that space, I had what was called an outside, there were outlying factors that were pushing me to be better. So I was always pushed. It wasn't necessarily that I had changed internally at this point. It was because I didn't want to become the person I was before. So I had a reason, like there was a pain threshold, like if I do X, it will create the same thing. So I always kept going a different direction. That's because, see, this is the thing about personal development. The tool works until the tool doesn't work no more. So it worked to get my relationship back on. It worked to create hundreds of thousands of dollars. It worked to create this business. And then I would find myself later on back into a plateau, attempting to use the tool the same way I did, but it's not creating a new result. And then the depression would kick back in because I didn't really realize who I had become to change who I was. I was just doing it because I didn't want the outside factors to impact me. Like the fear of pain. I don't want to feel the fear of going through a divorce or the pain of going through a divorce. So I'm not going to do this. But I didn't realize the person I had become because that wasn't the target at the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's some deep thoughts there. For the last 4 years, you become a boxer, you become a fighter, right? So something in you was needing to come to that moment. So you have to release energy or aggression, or what turned you into the fighter? Because you were fighting for your wife, you were fighting for your freedom, you were fighting for your sobriety, 11 years ago, roughly. And then later in life, you decide to become a real fighter. What's happened in your soul, in your mind? Why do you need that outburst?
So I did. That was a good notice. I didn't realize I was. So I wasn't always a fighter. I'm naturally programmed to quit and lie. That's my brain. So once things became comfortable, well, I don't believe there's a such thing as comfort, just to start with, and I found that out, and no one can prove to me that it's any different. So we'll go down that later. But once I thought that I was comfortable, and when a man is comfortable physically, he's uncomfortable mentally. He's not, like when I'm attempting to create physical comfort, I'm uncomfortable mentally. But when I'm mentally like pushing myself to the next limit and it hurts and I'm uncomfortable and it's just wild, like physically just going as hard as I can, my mind then becomes calm. Like I always tell people, whoever have like, and I've dealt with this, if you ever have terrible thoughts, suicidal thoughts, all these things, go try and bench press 200 pounds. And while that weight's trying to kill you, you won't think that way because you're finally doing it. So as I was moving forward into my life, right, I had this comfort that I had thought I created, and I was lying to myself, right? Back to lying to myself. I didn't realize that I came to a realization that the main problem with my life while I was sitting in my Hummer, I had the biggest house, my business, everything was working, beautiful wife, all my kids. I'm 240 pounds overweight. I have hundreds of thousands of dollars in personal development coaching. I'm coaching and I'm like depressed, wanting to swallow a bullet. And I was like literally back to doing that audit of myself. I'm like, and I'm good at leading indicators. What's the leading indicator that causes me to like, what is it? And I was like, bro, you're a liar. You don't keep your word. When the alarm clock goes off, you hit snooze. When you say you're going to be there, you're not going to be there. Now, if you tell everybody you're going to show up to an event, you show up for everyone to see it. And I think I've told you guys this before. Integrity is not what I say out loud. It's the silent commitments no one knows I keep to myself. That's a measurement of the integrity, right? So like the first thing I did, I was like, I'm going to get up and be to the gym by 4:30 every single day. So then I went on to the gym and I was like, I'm going to walk on the treadmill. I texted my wife that I walked an hour on the treadmill. My brain was like, no, you didn't. So I chimed it and I was like, I spent an hour at the gym, but I only walked on the treadmill for 10 minutes. So within 2 days, I was like, I'll be at the gym. I'm going to turn the treadmill on. I'm going to walk until it turns off, which is a 65-minute cycle. If for any reason I get off this treadmill, I have to start over. And I've started over hundreds of times, not hundreds, but tens of times I've started over. One time there was a damn gunfight outside. We had to take cover and I was 40 minutes in and I was like, start over. Boom. I jumped off the treadmill. And so I started practicing. The mind knows when we're bullshitting it. Like I started practicing creating evidence that when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to find a way out of it or manipulate it. And in that time, probably 2 weeks into that time, I seen these guys downstairs boxing. I was like, look at these goofballs boxing. And I was like, oh, dude, you must have energy towards them. Go down there. And so I paid the coach who became one of my friends. My friend today, he does bare knuckle. Paid him 2 months in advance. Said, hey, I want you here on these times or these days. Because if not, that means I went out drinking and partying. And at this time, I didn't tell you, like I was drinking probably like a fifth of vodka every 3 days, partying like crazy. And like I couldn't keep my word and none of that stuff. So one of the reasons why I decided to go this way, because my wife is my princess, right? I have a brother that came out of rehab and he was like, if you can't stop something for 30 days, you're addicted to it. And I was like, oh, I could stop drinking. And my wife looked at me in the eyes. She's like, I can't. And in that moment, I realized like I'm killing my family. Like that was all like my Hummer moment is what I call it. Like I just got in the Hummer, just fucking figured it out, right? So like I went on a goal to not drink for 90 days. And I couldn't tell you when the last time I didn't drink for 90 days was. It was probably like 10 years, right? So I go on this grind. I find out that's why the back of my shirt says what it says. Because when I got into the darkness, 4:30 in the morning, it's dark, right? All my friends disappeared in 2 weeks. Everyone I drank with was gone. I'm walking on the treadmill by myself. Then I got to go get punched by these big old guys. I don't even know how to fight. And at that time, right, I'm thinking about all the shit that I had done in my life that was useless and just made me look good. And everything that I know, I put 3,000 miles on the treadmill before I moved and changed my routine inside that time. I walked 3,000 miles on the treadmill. Just practicing keeping my word. So yeah, bro, it was that was the beginning of the journey. Everyone's like, how did you I'm the only man on the planet right now who was a personal development coach and became a professional athlete using his program. There's nobody else. Maybe after, but right now there's nobody else. Everyone else did it backwards. Professional athlete, motivational speaker. I'm the only one who did it this way. And it started from me not hitting snooze button and getting on the damn treadmill. That's it.
So tell me about your morning routine right now. So your daily routine. What are you saying to yourself, and what are you fulfilling? Is it 7 day a week or 6 day a week? What are you really doing? And don't brag. Just tell us what it is.
I'm not gonna brag, but it's so I stopped telling people because they don't believe it no more. Right? First of all, when I talk about alcohol, I love drinking and having fun still. So I'm not like this guy who's like, don't touch it. So I would be very clear with your people, right? But I'm schedule it, and I schedule it every 60 days or 90 days out, where I'll take 72 hours. One of those days I go and drink with my wife and we go party and have fun. The other 2 days we relax, go to the spa, come back, and then I go 60 days or 90 days straight. And when I say straight, it's 7 days on 7 days on 7 days. I heard when I was on the treadmill, I heard Kobe Bryant say, I can pass people and catch people if I work out 3 times as hard. So I was like, man, if I start practicing boxing 3 times as hard, even though those guys are 10 years ahead of me, in 4 years, I'll be 12 years of boxing. That's how I could be a pro. That's in my mind. So I was like, I believe it because Kobe said it, right? Not Tony Robbins, Kobe, right? So I was like, I'm going to do it. So my daily schedule right now, I set my alarm for 4:20. I normally will wake up at 4:15 on the dot, naturally. I wake up at 4:15. My shoes, my clothes, everything I wear is black. It's right there on the table. I go, put it on. I'm dressing out the door in 5 minutes. By the time I get to the gym, it takes 7 minutes to get to the gym. I do 500 shoulder workouts to warm up. 500 sets, 5 sets of 100. I do 50 pull-ups. I do all my stretches. I do 20 minutes of cardio. I go and get 2 egg whites and a cup of coffee. I come to the office. I get to the office somewhere around 5:50, 6 o'clock. I'm in the office till about 10 or 11. I sneak out and I go fight, right? I go take a shower. I take a 28-minute nap. I give my wife and kids a kiss. I come back to the office. I bang it out here for another 3-4 hours. Go hit my third workout, which is normally cardio and heavy bag. I go pick up my kids, give them some love, go home, and repeat that cycle for 60 days straight.
3 times a day you're trying to hit workouts and some kind of a gym activity. 3 times a day?
I train 6 hours a day right now. It's 5 to 6. 5 to 6. Yeah, depending on so that's broken up. So 1 hour in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, 2 hours in the late afternoon. Also, and I've scheduled it for the evening because I did it for 360 days straight. I do my ice bath when I get home. So I have a freezer inside my garage. I get inside the ice, and then I go take a shower, get my baby's kisses, and go to bed. And that's what it takes. Now, right now, I understand I'm a professional athlete training to fight people that are 10 years, 15 years younger. And so that's more my focus, probably till 45. And I put in 50 hours a week here at the office. And I'm big on there's no such thing as balance. It's just an obsession. So when I'm with my kids, I'm with my kids. Everything is off. When I'm in the gym, we call it getting in the cage. I'll text my wife, I'm getting in the cage. Somebody could die. I'm not going to know till I get out of there. And unfortunately, I don't care. Till I get out of there, boom, I'll pick it up and bang. When I'm inside the office, I get so much done because it's just me in the office. My wife can text me. I might text her back. If not, everything's in the office. And so by compiling my focus into one time frame, I get 10 times as much done.
And again, Saturday, Sunday, you stick to the same routine, or you have a little bit deviation on the weekend?
No deviation. The day's a day. It all starts with a D. That's all day. It all ends with the Y. It's a Saturday, Sunday. Often, it's funny because as regimented as I am, I often forget if it's a Wednesday or a Saturday or a Tuesday. Now, sometimes because the corporation will fly me out, they'll send me out to different states, right? So it's not perfect, like nothing is, but when I get there, I will do everything I can to get my schedule as tight as possible. And if I miss, right, I actually go into not depression, but if I start missing, it's probably good for me sometimes that I miss, right? Because I'm inside of meetings and stuff. But as soon as I get back, my wife knows it. She's she has all my stuff ready. She has it set up, and she knows the next morning I'm gone. And that's basically, that's how I live right now.
Okay. All right. So I asked you for lowest moment, and now I want to ask you, what is your proudest moment? What is your highest achievement till this day in your life? What can you say?
That's a good one because I don't ever look at my achievements very often because I don't I'm not big on celebrating expected activities. So one of the things I could say is like, well, one of the biggest tests that I have passed would be, I'll tell you this story. It just happened 4 years ago. When I was driving down the street, I had lived inside the same town for 39 years. Driving down the street, I owned a business for 12. They called me the unofficial mayor sometimes. Everybody loved, like, it was just a very tight-knit space. There was a carjacking in front of me and my son was shaking, and I'm waiting for them to get out of the road so I could go get chicken because that's how cold I was to the environment we were in. And so my son looked at me, he said, "Dad, I'll be strong, but there's no future for my little brother and sister." And that moment, it shifted in my head. It's like, it was that click. And it's like, bro, your family's going to die here. And you said you wouldn't die here. So I went home and I told my wife, I said, "Hey, let's move to Las Vegas. Well, let's move to Henderson. It's the second safest city ever. We'll sell the houses. We'll liquidate all the business stuff." She's like, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to go become a professional boxer," because I was an amateur at the time. And then after I become a professional, I'll start my coaching company. And she kind of had tears in her eyes. She's like, "But you're 4-0. You're 0-4 as an amateur," right? Like, she was like, "You didn't win yet." And I was like, "Yeah, we'll go." So 2 days later, everything was on the market. And 8 weeks after that, we moved here homeless inside of a 20-foot U-Haul and got rid of everything that defined us. I became a professional boxer later and locked in a 6-figure contract 3 months after that. And that's that. So to me, that was a high moment because, and my wife and I had this discussion. We have been survivors our whole lives. We just had this discussion probably 2 months ago. And the problem is I started becoming even a little depressed because I'm like, I have nothing to survive. And I had to come to this realization, her and I came to this realization, we're not survivors anymore, we're conquerors. There's nothing left to survive. Everything that was put on us, that we were not even, it was inflicted upon us, that we had survived, created something new. We don't have to create shit to survive. Now we just go conquer. So everything I do, I can conquer. That's that mindset. So that's that shift that comes through. Like, it's a conquer mindset now. I was a survivor, now I'm a conqueror. Because I was staying in a state of survival. The state of survival is not, you won't survive in it. Eventually it'll get you, you know?
It's a good saying. So this is go back to your fighter identity. Now is kind of a more revealed into your mental life and your family life and your business life, right? Into your physical, all aspects of life. You become a more disciplined and more fighter, right? Conqueror, fighter, whatever. You was a quitter in the past, was a quitter, and now conqueror.
Yeah, yes, and the thing is you as long as if you can outlast anything, as long, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think about this: anything that's attempted to kill us and take us off the planet right now has failed. If you can hear my voice, it has failed, which makes you invincible till now. So all of those things that have made you invincible till this moment have created something within you that could be ready for the next step and the next step. And the only way we know is by pushing. We've been pushing. Like, I look at it as like everything, my mom abandoning me, my abuse when I was a kid, verbal abuse, I couldn't read, dyslexic, touch of autism, can't spell, grew up poor, had no money. All those things tried to take me off the planet. They didn't succeed. Like, none of that succeeded. Like, going back to COVID, right? How many guys are listening to this? Girls are listening to COVID, right? That came. Like, all those things, the more we push ourselves physically and mentally, right? Physically and mentally, the more prepared we're going to be when the universe comes and says, "Hey, I'm going to take a shot at you." And that's the goal. Like, so many people lay down, bro. I'm not lay down. I'll just keep coming back.
All right. So tell me, do you have any spiritual practices like meditation, prayer? Do you believe in superpower? Do you have any, spiritual forces which, you apply to your life?
Yeah. So, yeah, I do. So, I grew up inside of a very Pentecostal Christian closed environment that was a little bit like, I'll just be straight up wild as shit. Some of the stuff that I've seen while I was a kid, and trust me, I was in church my whole life, right? My name's Luke. They named me after Luke in the Bible. Like, there's a lot of things that I had learned that when I reverse engineer it, contributed to the negative way that I looked at life. And part of it was I would always make an excuse. Oh, well, you know what? The devil's after me. Satan's coming. This is what happens when you, like, I even grew up where making money was frowned upon, that it was the way, that's a path to hell. You don't want too much money. So all those things I've been overcoming, like the way that when it comes to prayer, like sometimes I'll go on like a 20-mile run just to see if I'll die. So I'm praying the whole time, like for people, for friends, like it doesn't look like I'm on my knees, right? Like, and I always say it's not my business what any man does on his knees. I could care less, right? But what I do say is when I'm out there, like it's not necessarily like I'm praying for something. It's more like a thank you. Another thing I say too is like we're all created inside of His image, and so His image, like most people are like, oh, I have to pray about that. No, you don't, bro. You were created. You already know. If there's a justification, you're trying to find a way around what you know you're not supposed to do or you're not created to do. So I'm very big on like I was built to dominate and conquer. And so I'm more thankful than I am like, oh, I need direction in this time. Anytime I prayed that I need direction, I knew right off the bat which way I was supposed to go. I was trying to find a way out of it. So it's very simplified inside my space. And if we're talking about Bible, I would say I'm more of an Old Testament Bible guy anyway. So that's like, give me a sword and a shield and a fight and let's go.
How's your relationship with your wife right now after all of this transformation, changes, moving to Las Vegas? What's going on in your romantic space?
Well, so romantic space is perfect, more than anyone would know. Yeah, the craziest part about moving to Las Vegas, right? I'll tell you the truth. So my wife was told she had a little cyst on her ovary, right? And so we decided, hey, we're going to move to Las Vegas. We're going to go. We up and left. She goes to get the first time I ever got knocked out inside the ring training, right? That wasn't that. So I go to the ring. I'm boxing. I drop my hand. I drop my guard. Next thing you know, lights out. We're sparring. Dude just knocked me out. I even got on video. I'll show you guys sometime. That was the second time that day I had been knocked out because right before that, my wife had come home from her doctor's appointment with her OB. And I was like, how's everything going? She's like, I don't want you to stress, but there's a 99.8% chance that I have ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, and breast cancer. They have to send me to the doctor right now because I have 3 tumors and a cyst that's as big as an orange on my ovary. Right before I went in to train that day, she's like, oh, just go ahead and train. And right before I went to go train, I literally got knocked out. So when we started going through like the process, the biopsies, the doctor, like all these things, like I didn't know if I was going to lose my princess. And dude, I'll tell you one, man, we were driving and there was like this white Range Rover and we're driving to get her breast biopsy. She's like, she said, I wish I could have got my car. Right. Like, cause she'll tell you right now, she's a quitter. She's like, she's like dates 99.8%. Right. Like, so we go through the whole process. The doctor said that if she had worked for 2 more weeks, that the cyst would have ripped her ovary off the wall. She would have bled to death. So by quitting and coming here, it saved her life. They pull all the junk out of her. They do a full hysterectomy. They go biopsy. The lady comes out and she's like, it's a miracle, 0.02% chance. And she's cancer free. Right? Like, so yeah. So like when God says, hey, get your ass up and get the fuck out of here, who's attached to it that you have no idea their life is going to be saved. So my wife's life, if I would have said, you know what, I love where I live, it's going to be okay. If I would have listened to everybody who said I was stupid and everybody who said don't move and all these people who said, oh, why are you leaving your business? If I would have listened to all of those people, I would be raising 4 kids by myself right now, not on this podcast. I would without my best friend. So when we talk about our relationship, we have the strongest, most amazing, beautiful relationship. We still fight like cats and dogs sometimes. We always come back together. And the way that for men, you guys want a fucking tip? I'll tell you right now, negatively comparing your wife to anybody else is the key to having a relationship that is shit. So anytime that girl's carried your babies, that girl's put up with your stuff, there is no other girl out there to compare somebody else to that person. It's like, if you're going to compare your wife to someone else, be free to let her compare you to someone else. And that's once your mind shifts from that, that's what I learned. I was like, man, I got to start giving my wife a little bit more. I'm going to start running a little bit more. I started thinking, I'm going to not be as upset. I'm going to put my clothes instead of by the front of the thing. I'm going to put it all the way inside the thing. I even folded her clothes till she told me not to. She hated the way I fold them, but she lets me do the socks. that type of relationship is what we have, man.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing, man. You're really going deep today. So it's really good discussion. I appreciate it. Let's go back in the childhood. You said you had trauma, you have a lack, you have some kind of a challenges in the childhood. But is any positive influences from the childhood you can bring? Like who was your maybe role model? What book did you like to read? I know you had dyslexic. Probably you did not read, but you probably watched some cartoons, so you look at some cartoon books or something. What was your upbringing positive side? What were you dreaming about when you were 5, 7, 10?
I used to ride with my grandpa and my dad when I was little. Once we got back to we kind of got back to some normalcy, right? Probably like 7, 8. I'll ride with my dad. Had just started his plumbing business, so I was probably 7 years old, riding with my dad and my grandpa, retired Marine. He was helping out. Like I would go with him. I would help him with the urinals and just anything service plumbing you could think of. But the way that I saw the owners of the businesses treating my dad, right? My brain realized that I want to be a business owner. Like I don't want to be the employee. And I knew that at a young age. So like even going through high school, I maintained a 2.0 on purpose because I didn't want to go to college. I had no intention of doing those things. Like I wanted to drink beer, hang out with the cheerleaders, and make money. That was it. Go dig holes. And then I also have found pride in doing that stuff. So a lot of the things that I did in my life that I found I found value in was because I was a hard worker. And being a hard worker was rewarded. Yet being a business owner one day. So as a young man, even little 10 years old, 11 years old, I knew more in middle school than most of the plumbers because I had been doing it for 20 years. By the time I was 20 years old, I had 15 years of plumbing experience with me. I was running my own trucks. I was doing all that stuff. So like growing up as a young kid, like I could disconnect from the shit that was going on by doing plumbing and doing sports. That was it. Doing plumbing, being an athlete.
Do you have any like role models or heroes? Maybe your coaches, maybe some other people in life who positively invested in you and be your what it's called mentor. Yeah.
There was so what's crazy is I as a young man, I was always attempting to start businesses. I wanted to start a business, and you guys, as people know this, if you don't have anything and you go write a business plan, you're not getting anything. Like I was so shocked. I would be like, I got a perfect business plan. And I'm trying to get a loan to start like some company. I wrote like 5 business plans, right? And one of the teachers, his name was Gary Johnson. I'll remember this dude because he had a water damage company and I was a plumber. I was making $24,000 a year. I tried to get my insurance license. I was back on the truck. It was just like, I was always grinding and I just like couldn't, man. And he came and he said, hey, he said, I want to sell some of I want to sell some blowers. You guys want to buy them because you're plumbers. I was like, well, what else do you want to sell? He's like, well, I'm selling everything really. And I was like, well, how much? And he's like, well, it's going to be like 60 grand for the truck. He's like the truck, the blowers. He said, I'll let that go for 60 grand. I had like $28.37 minus this Red Bull I just bought right in my bank account. We were poor, bro. And so 650 square foot house. I owned the truck that was out there because they took money out of it for my check. And I made a business plan. I couldn't get any loans, so I ended up taking a loan against that truck. I said, hey, and it was with my dad. I said, hey, if I don't pay you back, right? He gave me 25 grand towards a $50,000 service truck. I said, you get the truck. I'll take the 25. Then I sold a Honda, overdrafted a bank account, used what was left of our taxes, went and bought this equipment from Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson looked at, he said, he's like, you're going to make 6 figures. He's like, 2 years, you're going to make 6 figures. And I didn't even know what that meant. I was just like, let's go. So I bring this truck home. I tell my wife, listen, we've got enough money for two months of business expenses, a business license, some cards, and some T-shirts. And if it all doesn't work, I owe a lot of money. And she's crying. She said, I believe in you. I believe in you. The first month, I like to say we did a lot, but we did nothing. We were in the red, right? Like I had 2 jobs. They didn't pay me, right? I'm like, oh shit, I got 1 month left. That month I locked in, created about $14,000 inside that month. That was over half of what I ever made. And I took it all and I rolled it back into the company. Next thing you know, we're making hundreds of thousands of dollars inside of a year. Like in the small 28,000 population, 28,000 people. That's it. We're just dominating like crazy. And that work ethic is what got me to a different space. So when you're talking about role models, Gary's the one who carried the note for me. And Gary's the one who I bought all the equipment from. And Gary's the person I still talk to today. And that guy, when it comes to like actually believing, my dad gave me the check and said, don't get it. He said he wouldn't let go of it. He's like, don't get out of this truck. You're throwing away your life. You're throwing away like my investment. Don't do this. Don't be a lowly carpet cleaner, right? And I yanked that thing out of his hand. I was like, I'm going to make this work. I had no other option. Like I had 2 kids and no way to buy them milk, right? Like, and I went off and he left. I had to drive. I didn't even know if the truck even started, right? And then next thing you know, it took him 2.5 years to be like, how many blowers do you have out right now? I was like, 40. He's like, how many DHUs do you have right now? I was like, 20. He's like, good job. So 2 years later, it's like, yeah, I'm pulling like 10 grand a weekend in equipment rental. And they're like, oh, great. All of a sudden. So yeah, that was like, Mr. Johnson's the one, man. I still talk to him today.
All right. That's a good story. Thank you for sharing. Now, and our third part of this episode goes into your future, right? Who do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, whatever? And what is your idea of a legacy and what kind of impact you want to create for the next generation, for your family, for your kids? What is in your mind? What are you driving toward? I know 45 years you will be done with the boxing bout, right? So what is your next 5 years after that? Just give us a little bit of your vision for future.
So my goal right now within the next 5 years is to fight in one of those casinos over there on a big card, whether it's MGM Grand, the Caesars or one of those arenas. That's my goal, to be on the top card in the next 45 years, or not 45, but next 4 to 5 years. That's the number one goal. When it comes to my coaching business, I have this thing where I would rather people have an opportunity to learn versus more people have heard me speak. So a lot of people are big on, and I've heard people say this before, like if in fact you want to do some fun research, find out what the application rate for people who attend a Tony Robbins seminar are and see. And it's less than 3% who people who hear it and apply it. And so I'm not a person who wants to be heard. I want people to have the opportunity to understand themselves with the words that I say, or the positions or spaces that I put them in, because the chances of them having a transformation, because I can't change anybody. I can't transform anybody. I can't make anybody better. I've learned that. What I can do is just give them a mirror of something that they can measure themselves to. And this is going to sound cocky as shit, but it's right on. If they can look at me and say, I can never fucking be that, right? They know what's possible. And then they can say, man, but I know what I can do. I know it's possible. And I told my wife this. I used to talk to people and tell them all the time, you talk about legacy, and I was more of a plagueacy. I was more of a plague on the people that I was with. And I was helping people out and I was doing good things, all shit, but it was a plague, bro. Like those people, once I became who I am, have becoming, they don't talk to me no more. They don't want nothing to do with me. Like that's because you start to repel the things that are not for you. So as I'm moving forward into my life, I would be honest to tell you, I don't have a goal for what I look like. I have a goal every day to be better, like not better than I was the day before. I hate when people say it, because yesterday I might have been a shithead and all I got to do is get up on time and be better, right? Get in that repetitive cycle. Like my goal is to progressively grow to where I could not catch myself. If inside of a year I could still catch myself in any space, then I didn't grow. And so like and I'll tell you the way that I do that is with if you people who are listening want something to practice that'll get you started, is integrity, right? Integrity is not a percentage base. It has nothing to do with it. It's actually a pass or fail in the moment. So when I used to put down, did I keep my promises? Well, I kept 9 out of 10 today. People would say, well, that's great. It's 90%. No, that's a fucking fail that day, bro. The reason is because when I'm okay with 90%, when life gets tough, I'm going to be okay with 80%. Now I start to digress. So when you ask like what the legacy looks like, I always want to make sure that I have more passes than I have fails through the day, through the year, through my life. And when you talk about legacy and when people talk about legacy, like, you know, the number one place where the most lies are told inside a single setting, it's a funeral. How many times you've been to a funeral and they're talking about that person? You're like, that fucking guy's not that. She wasn't like that. But we're all like, yeah, you know, it's a funeral. So when we talk legacy and they say, man, Luke did X, I want everyone's mind to know with evidence that they're like, fuck yeah, that's 100%. Like, oh, dude, like when they say he was an amazing dad, right? And people are like, that dude's a piece of shit. He got drunk all the time. Like, I want my kids to be like, he was an amazing dad because this is the evidence. I want my friends and family, I want everybody who's impacted to be able to say, yeah, dude, that's 100%. There's no BS. That would be what I would consider a legacy. Every single person in the room to be able to resonate, not be like, they're lying. To be able to feel it and understand, dang, that dude was 100% with what he said and what he did. That would be it.
Thanks, man. Thanks for sharing. Tell us how people can follow you on the social media, where they can find you in your boxing profession and your coaching career, how they can get in touch if they want to hire your services, how they can, find you online.
Yeah. So right now I'm big word of mouth, man. So like Facebook or Instagram. Facebook is Coach Luke. Instagram is Coach Luke _. Sofia and I were just talking about this prior to. Don't go on TikTok. I'm not even really on there. It's just my story. But Facebook and Instagram, and email aecoachluke@gmail.com. And the thing is like I work off of word of mouth, bro. I have more people. I work for more companies and I'm really high level. It's more like an assassin. I come in, I'm just writing down stuff for months, bro. And then we sit there and we're like, hey, this is what it looks like. And we go from there.
Thank you for sharing your story and sensitive moments of your transformation. It was incredible. I really appreciate your open mind, open heart, the passion, the energy, the discipline. You're a good example for me personally, and I know for your kids as well, for people who is in your circle of influence. So keep up this great job. And if you have any final words, feel fired up.
Yeah. So the only final word that I got, and it's kind of random, right? Like there's no such thing as perfect, right? Perfection is only found inside of the practice. That's it. Like the preparation. Perfection is found within the preparation, never in the application. Never. You can always find somewhere where you can be better. So the harder, the better, the greater you practice, the more tighter you are, the more finer you are in the practice, the more ready for when it's time to apply you'll be. That's the side of your fitness, and I'm big on fitness and finance. A lot of people like to target religion or they target relationship, bro. Get your fitness and your finance up, and 90% of the time, the other two will fix themselves. Plus, they're measurable. That's about it, man. Thank you guys for having me on. By the way, this has been great.
It was really, really good. So thank you, Luke. So say hi to your princess and your kids. And
I will, man. It's great seeing you.
Looking forward to seeing you when you're gonna be on the big boxing arena very soon. So
since the last time we talked, I'm at Mayweather's now, and I just had my first video shoot over there yesterday. Yeah. So I'll be dropping content. I had the video guys in there having me boxing inside the main rings, all that stuff, and then I start fighting their pros over there. So I'm back at the bottom of the ladder. So I'm excited, man. Love you, man. I'm proud of you.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. Let's stay together. Let's go together and change this world one person at a time. Influence for good, for positive, and drill into your core power, core energy, superpowers, which God gave you and gave to every human on this planet. We just need to believe and uncover it. Thank you, Luke. Take care of yourself.